Black and Latino males aged, let's say, 16 to 25 that don't have jobs, don't have any prospects, don't know how to find jobs, don't know what their skill sets are, don't know how to behave in the workplace where they have to work collaboratively and collectively.
Hello, I'm your host, Talking Face, and this could be news. Thank you for joining us, and if you can, like and share our content, and feel free to subscribe to our page. Like always, I'm going to try to keep this video under 10 minutes, so bear with me, people. It's getting closer and closer to that time for the Democratic Party to pick a nominee for president. And it seems their leading two choices are Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg. But this video is about Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg is seen as a front runner for the Democratic nominee, and he's looking pretty good out there. But one thing that's kind of spooky about him running, which I don't know if the Democratic Party paid attention to or the constituents, voters, but quick recap on why they don't like Trump. They don't like Trump because he is a loudmouth New Yorker businessman who's worth over $1 billion and that, quote unquote, sexually harass women and also wants to silence the media. It's kind of strange because Mike Bloomberg is worth 6 times more than Donald Trump. He is from New York. He has had issues with women, and he owns his own media company. And then also they say that Trump bought his way into the election. Mike Bloomberg changed the rules for the Democratic debate to get him in it. He just now started running. And in the last debate, Elizabeth Warren got a shot in on this key point.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Democrats are not going to win if we have a nominee who has a history of hiding his tax returns, of harassing women, and of supporting racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk.
Drops Mike. But I see no issue with Bloomberg being rich and becoming presidents because we had rich presidents in the past. It's just part of history. My issue with him is he's a radical. And it's sad because the Democratic Party just went completely radical. Even down to the point where they're actually going to nominate a communist for president as their Democratic nominee. That's insane. I mean, we can look at his stint as mayor for New York. Besides the fact that he owns his own media company, y'all call Trump a fascist, even though he hasn't shut down any type of media outlet. Mike Bloomberg owns his own media outlet. I'm not going to talk about it. But his stint as mayor of New York City between the years of 2002 and 2013 kind of shows that he can act sort of like a dictator or try to. I'm not saying that the whole time he was mayor of New York City that he was a terrible mayor, but a couple things did come into question. Like, stop, question, and frisk. Or what's known as stop and frisk. Now, a lot of people had issues with it. A lot of people in the media, a lot of people on the left. But some people seen it as a good thing. Gun violence in New York was pretty high. And by statistics, it was pretty high in minority communities. African American and Hispanic communities. So, under Mike Bloomberg's orders, officers were more than likely to frisk minority people in those communities before their white counterparts. But it seemed to be excessive to some people, and to others, it seemed to work. When asked about why he was patrolling more minority communities, he had this to say.
But those cops, we have a crime, which means in minority neighborhoods. So this is one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana. They're all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them up against the wall and frisk them.
Yes. that could have been taken as a little racist. Me, I feel that it was teetering on the lines. It was like right there on the line. But I can give it a pardon and just say it was harsh. But nowadays, he's apologizing for it, and that was probably the one actual good thing that he did for New York. But other than that, he was trying to act like a king. During his reign as mayor, Mike Bloomberg went on a war against big gulps and large sodas. Why do you ask? Let him tell you.
Well, taxes are regressive, but in this case, yes, they are. That's the good thing about them, because the problem is in people that don't have a lot of money. And so higher taxes should have a bigger impact on their behavior and how they deal with themselves. We want the poor to live longer so that they can get an education and enjoy life. And that's why you do want to do exactly what a lot of people say you don't want to do. The question is, do you want to pander to those people, or do you want to get them to live longer? And there's just no question. If you raise taxes on full sugary drinks, for example, they will drink less. And there's just no question that full sugar drinks are one of the major contributors to obesity, and obesity is one of the major contributors to heart disease.
Not only did he have an issue with large sodas, but he also had an issue with food donations to the homeless, because he made it illegal to give food to homeless people because they could not assess their salt, fat, and fiber content. Yes, food donations to the homeless is terrible because we don't need them having high cholesterol. But this is all part of the socialized medicine movement as well. Socializing healthcare is a terrible thing. There is no reason for government to have their hands in your healthcare, because they can say whether or not they should treat you or not, if it's viable, if it's actually a high priority. Because Mike Bloomberg said, if you're like over 90, why do you need to treat yourself for cancer? Well, one thing, if I can pay for it, I should be able to treat myself. But that's the thing that they do on death panels and other. But the one thing that got to me, besides his ads for trying to take my guns away, I'm trying to say this one more time. I hope this is the last time. You're not touching my guns. None of you crazy Democrats. But what's his views on China? How he said that it wasn't a communist nation.
15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Yes. China accounts for roughly 30% of greenhouse gas. So the United States currently accounts for about 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Yes. China accounts for roughly 30% of greenhouse gas emissions. How do we, even if we get to net zero, how do you get China, India, and the other countries to be good partners?
China is doing a lot. Yes, they're still building a bunch of coal-fired power plants.
And they're still burning coal.
Yes, they are. But they are now moving plants away from the cities. The Communist Party wants to stay in power in China, and they listen to the public. When the public says, I can't breathe the air, Xi Jinping is not a dictator. He has to satisfy his constituents, or he's not going to survive.
He's not a dictator?
No, he has a constituency to answer to.
Doesn't have a vote. He doesn't have a democracy.
Like, are you serious, Mike Bloomberg? Do you know what's going on in China right now? Do you know how they hide news stories, like actual news stories, and just let out propaganda of what they want their people to see and what they want the world to see? Have you not seen what's going on with the coronavirus? But he's not the only one that feels this way, because Bernie Sanders is still the front runner, but he's a pretty close second. But what do you think? Do you think, nah, talking face, I'm still gonna vote for him? I like this rich guy more than that, even though that other rich guy is doing a pretty good job. I mean, you know, he's doing pretty good. But let me know in the comments, and please subscribe to the page. Peace.